Is this a bot or is this Howard Beck on the phone line here on the show?
I can verify as Howard Beck that this is the real Howard Beck with a blue check mark. Does my blue check mark show up on your caller ID?
I don't think so, but can you give yourself a blue check mark? I know so many people in the early days of Twitter were begging for it, but how are you, Howard?
I'm doing well. How do I know it's the real Rich Eisen?
Well, a great question. Well, I've got two people.
How do we know anything anymore?
I've got two people looking at me. Can you verify that this is me, Chris? Can you verify this is me?
I mean, you're not wearing the glasses.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
There's the drop as well. Prove it. Thank you. There we go. On the crazy meter, where does this rank 1 to 10 for you, Howard, in your history covering this league?
This is absolutely at least a 9 plus. But, the craziness of it, Rich, is really about whether or not this is Brian Colangelo responsible for these accounts. Now, he has said that he is not responsible for the ones that are in question. There was one that he did cop to. It's not unusual for NBA GMs, NBA coaches, NBA owners to have, what we call burner accounts, or just simply anonymous accounts to follow and see what everybody's talking about. It doesn't necessarily. Most of them are just lurkers, right? They're just there to read and see what people are saying. They're not interacting. They're not engaging. And if it's just the one that Brian Colangelo said was his in the Ringer story, then there's nothing else to this, and our crazy meter drops from a 9 to maybe a 6 because we still have to wonder, okay, well then who did all this, and why did the person who did this leave all these fingerprints that seems to implicate Brian Colangelo? Was he being set up? I mean, I know that sounds like a stretch, but look, anything's possible at this point. And I will say this: I have been in touch with somebody close to Brian Colangelo within the last hour or so who says absolutely positively was not him. And, I take that person at their word. It's somebody who's definitely someone I've known a long time who's credible. And, we'll see where the Sixers investigation goes, because if it's not Brian Colangelo responsible for those accounts, somebody with inside information seemingly has been responsible for either maintaining those accounts or feeding somebody, whoever's running those accounts. So there's still, even if you can determine through just digital footprints that it's not Brian Colangelo, you still have to wonder or figure out who is responsible for that information getting to those accounts.
Well, if it isn't Colangelo, then it's somebody that knows his history and where he's been in previous stops along his career and knows specific people that he's come across in personal business in life to place as followers on these accounts, people that these accounts follow. And then this morning I saw somebody in the media. I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately, but I did see this on Twitter, and I'm not really one of those people to say I see it online, I believe it, that they tried to change the passwords on these accounts, and every single one of the phone numbers that are associated with the account that came back, checked this phone number for the code, all had the same last 2 digits. So there's a lot of there, Howard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of there on this front.
Right. No, it would seem that way, Rich. I don't disagree at all. All I can tell you is that somebody close to Brian has told me definitively it wasn't him, and they're just hoping that the investigation has the ability, with just the digital forensics, to be able to at least disprove that it was Brian. Whether it's somebody else internally or somebody on his behalf or just somebody else with information within the Sixers, that would be the question then. And yes, there's so much that points to Brian Colangelo. I think if we were in a courtroom, we would call this all circumstantial evidence,
yes.
And whether that's compelling enough, I don't know. But I'm one who I tend to have a high bar on these things. Like I don't disagree with you that you look at all these things. I had the same reaction everybody else did. I read it and I go, man, this looks really damning. This looks very, if not definitive, it certainly is pointing a very strong finger in one direction. And I'm not dismissing any of that, but I have a high bar in my own mind about, okay, what qualifies as proof before we throw a guy's career out the door.
Bleacher Report's Howard Beck here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you think that if it is him, that it does rise to the level of termination, of career-ruining moment? I mean, as you know, in this day and age, Howard, when a story comes out, you consume it, you think, oh, my God, this is a horrible story, or you think this is a bizarre story in this case, and then you start wondering, like, what is the actual fitting penalty for this crime, if there is a crime at all, right? So where do you think this lies if it does come out that all of the accounts are Brian Colangelo's, Howard.
Yeah, if that were the case,
Right.
I have to believe that they probably end up terminating or that he ends up resigning, where it's a mutual parting, because the embarrassment brought on the franchise by this entire saga and also by the information in those tweets would be tough to overcome. And you need your general manager, who is, one of the faces of your franchise and one of the most important ones when it comes to making trades, recruiting free agents, dealing with people all throughout the league. Credibility is key. And if it were proven that it were Brian Colangelo, then, you're losing standing, you're losing credibility. You're certainly, losing with your own players, some of whom, if it were him, you've besmirched. And so that's a problem. I don't see how you survive that if they can prove that it was him.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.